Okay. Okay, my friends, here we go. We are learning about the priorities in Brachos, and I do want to just review a little bit before we continue, because I want to get it clear in my own head before we continue. So, we spoke.
Who's that? It's close.
We spoke.
That's close.
Spoke. We're talking about priorities in Brachos. So first we spoke about. Very good. Very good. Just doing a brief review before we continue. So we spoke first about bread. Priorities in terms of bread. And we said that the rule is a complete loaf comes before a broken loaf. More importantly than that, wheat comes before barley. There's a conflict between the two. We said main halacha is we go with the wheat, better to hold both. Broken wheat and whole barley, better to hold both. Better to hold both. Yerei Shamayim Yitzadei Shneim, and he holds both.
You mean the bread of whole barley kernels?
No. Whole loaf. A whole loaf of barley. Lachmaniya Shlema. Oh, okay.
That was same days, right?
That was Aleph. I think so, man. It's
It said that
Yeah. Yerei Shamayim Yitzadei Shneim, yeah. So, the point is that in addition to wheat coming before barley, we said that also wheat and barley come before the other three species, which are spelt, oats, and rye. And in that case, because those two are mentioned in the pasuk and the other three are not, you don't even have to hold the other one. And say if you have a broken piece of wheat or barley bread, you don't have to hold the whole loaf of rye, spelt, or oats, because those two are in the pasuk and they have kadima, they come first.
It's only those five, right?
Only those five. Correct. They're the only ones that are called bread. I'm talking about bread. Eretz Chitos Ayra. It's in this week's parsha. Eretz Chitos Ayra and the pasuk of the Shivas HaNehenin. That's it. Eretz Chitos Ayra. Nothing else is mentioned. Now, even though.
And then the fruits.
Then other fruits. Yeah.
But not the. So how do you know?
That's Chazal. Chazal understood that shifon is a type of wheat.
Which is
spelt.
Today we don't have that.
Spelt is a type of wheat, correct?
Today we don't have that.
We have it, spelt, shifon, batach. And rye and oats are a type of barley. That's why between those three, spelt comes before the other two, before rye and oats. But
Rye and oats?
I think rye comes before oats. I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, the fact is oats are more simple and they're more like animal food. But I don't know if that's what it's based on. I really don't know. But because they're not explicit in the pasuk, so that's why they come after both of those. So that was one issue. And then we said there's another issue with whole wheat bread and white bread. And white is considered better than whole wheat. Although we did have a day, it's word in some achronim that nowadays maybe whole wheat is better. People prefer it. That's a tzarach iyun. But let's just stick with what it says in Shulchan Aruch for now, that white comes first.
Maybe now that they have whole wheat, it's not that, from what I understood, whole wheat and white is pretty much the same, they just don't bleach it.
No.
No?
Whole wheat actually has bran, has the bran. That's why it's healthier.
All whole wheat is like that?
The real whole wheat.
No, they just call whole wheat.
Not what they call whole wheat. If they just call it whole wheat, and it's just as light and fluffy, it's probably not.
So, even though it has the race of the white bread because of its toxins or unhealthy
So, I mean, that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal.
It's like, it's we can know when we go to shul or something, we can change things. Doesn't mean that.
That's part of the discussion. Maybe it's not as good now because they don't consider it as healthy. Or do we say that since it's after all, no, it's after all, it's what people prefer, what people consider more chashuv. But if it's a healthier bread, so people give it more chashivas. I don't think it's about the health per se. It's more about the chashivas. So that's the question. If it's so, that's the question. If it's about the taste only, then the white bread still is a fluffier, tastier bread. But if it's about the way people perceive it, you could argue both ways. But at least in the time of Chazal, or according to some opinions even today, white comes before whole wheat, even if you prefer the whole wheat. We also said that bigger comes before smaller, even if they're both broken. Bigger comes before smaller, but that if one is big, whole, and white, and one is, big and whole wheat, and the other one is smaller white, I think you go by the white, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. White comes before bigger. But if one is smaller and whiter, just different levels of white, but it's not actually white versus whole wheat, then there's a doubt. Okay, so that was basically it as far as breads are concerned. And of course, it goes without saying that breads come first, before any other bracha. The bracha on bread comes first. Okay? And like we also said last week, we're talking about, this whole discussion is when we're talking about a person who wants to eat both. He wants to eat the wheat and the barley, and the oats and the rye and the spelt and the whole wheat and the white and the bigger and smaller, blah, 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 blah. He wants to eat both. And the question is, which does he eat first? Or I shouldn't say which does he eat first. Which does he say the bracha on? And this is the answer based on what we've been learning. All right?
Is it clear from here that if a person doesn't want to eat one of the two, and he's doing the bracha on one of the two, what's the phrase? Is it clear? I didn't learn the first two things. I couldn't find my safety for literally 2 seconds ago. Hashem should help me, but did we discuss clearly that if you have lechem mishnah, let's say, you have a white bread and a whole wheat bread, that if you don't, let's say you don't want to eat the white bread, you're not planning on eating white bread.
No chiyuv to eat it whatsoever.
But even though you're making a bracha on it,
You're not making a bracha on it. You're holding it. You're not making a bracha on it.
have you said that clearly?
Said that clearly, yeah.
Inshallah.
And he didn't discuss clearly holding it, but he didn't say it makes a difference. We said, exactly, if the Torah is not telling you what to eat. That's not what this is about. The Torah is telling you which has a kedima, which has precedence. Precedence means you're doing both. The question is, which comes first?
Right. From this level, I'm for sure you're going to say that in the case where you grab a bread, make a bracha, so you're not interested in the second one, so you're not going to take the other bread. But if you're ready, I'm asking if you're ready, I know you're not. I'm just saying, maybe you could say, it's what I always thought. I'm not saying it's right either, but if you grab bread for the Mishnah, the fact that you're making a bracha on it,
you're actually not making a bracha on it. The fact that you're holding it is your question. You're not making a bracha on it. You could hold something and not make a bracha on it. I mean, it's possible.
right?
Well, you're
I mean, because lechem mishnah, you're supposed to hold lechem mishnah. That's all. That's all. You're supposed to hold it. But you're asking because you're holding it. That's your question. You're not making a bracha on it because you're not directing your bracha in its direction.
So you don't have to put them together? You know, like this?
No, you Api Kabbalah, you're supposed to put them together, but so what? What does it put them together do then?
So it's, what? No,
You can put them together and still have kavanah on one of them, in terms of eating.
So your right hand should be on one hand.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's correct. That's correct. What you're going to eat, what you're making a bracha on, should be in your right hand. That's correct.
There's no big difference, what I'm saying?
I saw the V'zayis bracha saying clearly not what you're saying. V'zayis bracha clearly says that even lechem mishnah, even lechem mishnah, we're holding both. There is no chiyuv to follow this order unless you're planning to eat both. So, for example, a clear din in Shulchan Aruch says, which actually supports what I'm saying, it's actually clear in Shulchan Aruch, that you're supposed to save the bigger loaf for Shabbos day. You know that? It's halacha. The bigger challah for Shabbos day. So it says. It says. Because Shabbos day's meal is more important than Friday night's meal.
It's also an extra dish.
Yeah. And that's why if two challahs, one is bigger than the other. We're not talking about you need one for Friday night because you have more guests, whatever. Everything is equal, same amount of people.
Right, what's the raya?
It says it in Shulchan Aruch.
What's the raya? What's the raya that I'm saying?
No, because you're holding both. It's Friday night. No, don't have the bigger one. Save it for Shabbos lunch. So we see even when you're holding both, we don't follow this. It says keep it for Shabbos lunch. If you're supposed to follow the rules.
Who says it's that one? I was giving a given that you're holding that one.
Yeah, that's what it's talking about. That's what it's talking about. 1 second. Oh, there's 4 people here. I don't even know who they are. Let me see. David is on the chat. I don't know how to type in questions to the YouTube live chat. If I go to type a question, it takes me out of the YouTube. That's strange. Right on the corner of my YouTube, I see a page, a little thing that says, Arya Citron, say something. Right in the corner here.
Type something, maybe let's go with
Here it is. Benji Lift is in. I just want to show what I mean.
I think I'm saying this because I remember seeing it. What sin is this in Shulchan Aruch?
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe it's on your phone. Maybe it's on your phone, David. Maybe the phone screen is different than the computer screen. I really don't know what to say. Darba. What's the reason? Shulchan Aruch Kuf Samachas.
This
Yeah, Kuf Samachas. It's interesting because it's actually different simonim. This parak incorporates Kuf Samachas, which is the dinim of bread, and Reishud Aleph, which is the dinim of Shivas Aminim and Peres and Yerakas and all that. So, but bread is in Kuf Samachas. Just give me 1 second. I won't look it up.
Is it? Is there a question? Amen. Shulchan Aruch Aleph or Bet?
Sorry?
Shulchan Aruch Aleph or Bet?
I'm just looking something up.
Okay. But what do you need 9 people for the meeting? It was good, but
going בליל Shabbos, שבצע שתי חלס, ורצה לשמור את האחס החלס שיוצא כדי לא חשוב לסלוס היום. ואיך לסל החלס פחס חשובים לכם ואיך חשוב. קוף סמכס א' ברמה. I don't think the Rama says clearly Shabbos. He just says in general. Let's look that up. الخوزك شو سلغ مشتعام أنا وزلخ الأخذ من يفسى لأنه خشاف بيش خشب أي خابب يويسر أبي شوف باز غابة نخال داخل استعمل داخل خشب هو داخل مزاج Okay, the Mishnah Berurah has a nice point here. Mishnah Berurah has a nice point here. He doesn't explicitly discuss the Mishnah, but the Mishnah Berurah has a nice point. Let's say you only want to eat one, but you don't have a particular interest in eating one or the other. Then do the nicer one, because you're saying a bracha, you may as well say a nicer one. The whole point is if you're not planning to eat the nicer one, chiyuv making a bracha something nice doesn't obligate you to eat it.
Where's the chashivas? Why isn't the chashivas play a part if I want to eat? If I don't have in mind to eat the white, but I guess you're just not obligated to eat it.
You're not obligated to eat it. I'm obligated to make the bracha the most chashuv thing of what you're going to eat. But you're not obligated to eat something to make a chashuv bracha. I mean, what if I don't want to eat right now? But there's a beautiful loaf of bread. What do you mean I can eat it? Such a chashuv bracha.
No.
I'm just saying.
It's you're holding the bracha, you're holding it, making
Okay,
the bracha,
okay. But b'chol zot, I mean, clearly the Mishnah Berurah says if it's in front of you, you don't have to do it. You know, it's in front of you.
Maybe you can say that in the case where you're not, where you are going to eat from both. This is for sure, right? In the case where you're going to eat from both, so you should do the next.
Yes.
Is this same
Does it
thing?
have to be now or later? Meaning, if I want to eat, let's say, for example, I want to have, I want to first eat whole wheat, and then I want to have the,
Why?
let's say,
So you got too many guests.
I have, for example, I have this like whole wheat, organic, whatever bread that I eat. But I always try to make it on the white to hand it out to the people. So unless it's by me, it's opposite. By me, I want to hand out the bigger loaf, which is the white color to everybody else, and then save the rest for me. Save the other loaf for what I want. But let's say I want to do the opposite.
No, what it does say is actually, I don't know who 770 MMB is. I guess that's Moshe Becerra. What it does say actually is, I don't know if it's exactly your case, but it does say that if there is a reason why you want to eat one first before the other, you don't have to change your order to accommodate this list of
There's a
brachos.
reason?
Yeah, there's a reason.
There's a reason.
The reason, the examples he gives is if that's the order of eating. Let's say the normal order of eating is that the salad comes before the main course. And you happen to come to the table when they're both already served. But the salad comes before the main course, at a chasana, right? So the salad is, usually they serve the salad, take away the plate, and then they bring the main course. The Maisa, you came late, your salad is sitting there, and they come, before you made the bracha on the salad, they come in and they bring you the main course. And the main course has some pasta, it's mezainos. So listen, is this a bracha? Oh, exactly, that's the svar.
But not because it's, what did Rav say? Not because.
The Seder, it's not the Seder. The Seder is, salad comes first. Salad comes first. That's the svar. The svar is since that's the Seder. So therefore, I don't want to eat it now.
Even in the case of Adama and the eights, you want to have the Adama first, so you're allowed. Let's say I want to have melon before I eat that.
Why?
I don't want apple right now. I'm only going to want apple if I'm not.
Maybe that's not because of Adam or eights. It's just a stem. That's stem.
So even if they're both in front of you, if you don't want to eat preceding bracha right now, so you're allowed to eat the.
That's true.
more insignificant.
That's true.
So also if we have a lot of eights, mishubach, pachot mishubach, so we're going to do the mishubach first?
Yeah, that's what we're discussing now.
The fruit.
What's the kadima? What has a din of meshubach? If it's the zayin minim, if it's earlier in the zayin minim, if it's complete, if you prefer it, those are all the factors, all the pratim that go into deciding what's meshubach. Certainly, you have to make the bracha on what's meshubach. What is defined as meshubach? That's the whole discussion.
Let's say if I put a lot of fruit for guests, and the guest is not ready, and I want to eat something, but I don't want to touch the mishubach because I want the guest to come over to see my. So I want to take something,
Okay. Right now, you don't want to eat
the
those.
reason it's okay.
Yeah, right now, you don't want to eat those. You don't have to eat them. Even though you want to eat them later, right now, you don't want to eat them because it looks too nice to mess up. So,
So this order of Brachos only when you're gonna eat basically all this process in the order
exactly.
that is stated.
It's only if you're going to eat all the foods, and the question is, you don't know which to eat first. You have no interest in one over the other. Allah says this one, you take this one.
So if you go, let's say, wedding, whatever, you have a buffet, everything, from A to Z.
So then you should follow the brachos.
You're probably gonna eat.
You should follow the brachos. Follow the order. Follow the order. Okay, I want to point out that there's different rules for different foods. Because right here, the Alter Rebbe says that chaviv comes in last place. You realize that? Chaviv is coming in last place here.
What were we discussing?
Breads. Breads.
Or barley and wheat?
Just make sure I'm getting it right. Give me a moment.
Did you ever check the record yourself, or?
Actually, no, I brought it down. Just give me 1 second. Okay, no, I take it back. Take it back. Okay, I take it back. I take it back. No, here the Alter Rebbe says you can change the order if he leaves it open-ended. Machlokes if Chavivus takes precedence to the order of the pasuk or not, which is the same thing he's going to say by the Shivas Aminim. Later on, we're going to see if you have fruits of the Shivas Aminim and you want to make a bracha, and the ones that are not from the Shivas Aminim are more preferred to you, or even within the Shivas Aminim, the ones that are later on in the pasuk are more preferred to you. So the Alter Rebbe brings both opinions. What's better, to follow the Chavivus or to follow the order of the Shivas Aminim? And he doesn't pass, and he says, do whichever one you want. One or the other, can't take a third item, which is neither Chaviv or the right order, but one or the other, and either way is fine. So he says the same thing over here, excuse me. But, I definitely should look at the Alter myself.
וכל המשבח תבוא עליו ברכה רבה.
Let's do it.
He said, you choose whatever you want. You don't have to go to the Meshubach. That's what he said?
Machloket, if you go by the order of the Shivat Aminim in the Pasuk, or by Chavivut, to yourself.
זה מחלוקת.
Machloket.
Who said it in מחלוקת, Rabbi?
In the Mishnah even, Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. And then the Rishonim argue who to paskin like.
Rabbi said,
Chachamim said the order of the Pasuk, and Rabbi Yehuda says Chavivut.
difference of seeing these out. So, I mean, really. Makes sense.
No, actually, he does not pass like the Rambam here. He passes like the first shita. The Mechaber brings down the first shita b'stam, that you follow the order of the Shivas Aminim. Then he brings the Rambam, who says Chavivos, and he says to follow the first shita. Stam v'yesh. Stam v'yesh. I'm sorry?
Shivas HaNehenin?
Shivas Aminim, yeah, the order of the
That's
Shivas
not what I
Aminim.
was asking about.
We asked him that.
I was asking about the Tzuchans, but I guess we're like 10 minutes past
Oh, he doesn't bring that down.
that. I think he does. I mean, he doesn't.
I don't see it here.
Right. In the case of, I thought that we don't choose Chavik.
No, he says Chaviv it's one of the factors, but it comes after the order of the Shivas Aminim. The Rambam says Chaviv comes first, but he doesn't pass like that. Mechaber brings it down in its base, Yeshayim.
My birthday is coming this Shabbat, Rabbi.
Nice.
So, I'll do that.
Ula Rambam, Maktam Chaviv. So that's like a Yeshayim. Okay. So, the Kitzer, Hamoitzi comes first. And we already discussed the priorities within Hamoitzi. The next bracha is Mezainos. Now, in the order of things, we said that the order is Maga Eish. After Hamoitzi, the order is Mezainos, Gefen, Ho'etz, Adama, and Shahakal. Now, what I said last time, Gefen after Mezainos. Mezanot, Gefen, Eitz, Adama, Shakal. Now, what we said last time is that Mezainos, the priority of Mezainos, comes before the other brachos, and that overrides the chavivos. Meaning to say, you make the bracha on the Mezainos even if you prefer the other foods.
On Shabbat, we do Kiddush because of the Shabbat.
That's why we cover the challah. That's the whole concept. Really, Kiddush is on wine. Challah is on a motzi. Motzi comes before. During the week, you say motzi first. But Shabbat, you have to say Kiddush first. Because you have to say Kiddush before you eat. You're not allowed to eat before Kiddush. So you say Kiddush first, but you cover the challah, so it should be like it's not present.
So what if there's order? We should follow them so.
Exactly. Some do.
Yeah.
Some do. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in the week time, if I want.
That's all right, but only the Mezainos you're going to eat. Because the whole thing is, I think we discussed last week, you're going to eat it, so it has a kadima. The ones you're not going to eat, it has no kadima. I'm not interested in eating it.
So
Yeah.
in the week time, if I want a little bit wine before the dinner, it's not good. I cannot do that.
If you have a reason for it, לפתוח את המים,
Okay.
סתם, אם יש לך אינטרס בזה. אבל סתם, אם אתה מגיע לשולחן, there's no set order, the klal is המוציא first.
So if I do a geffen before I do a geffen and then I will do the netilat yadayim for the motzi.
No. If you're doing it לפתוח את המים, כאילו, אז מותר. You don't have to say על הגפן. It becomes included in the meal. I'm getting thirsty talking about all these drinks.
Amen.
It was also, I mean, if I was living in the zone, it's like the zones that can rise up to the level of past, like Syria.
Oh, so here's the thing. Mezainos comes before other brachos, even if you prefer the other things. However, I did come across in the course of my unfortunately brief preparation today, I did come across that this inyan that mazonos comes first is only because it's shivas aminim. It's not just the bracha of mazonos. It's the bracha of mazonos coupled with the fact that it's shivas aminim. So, for example, if you have a mazonos that's not shivas aminim, such as rice, so then, even though it's a preferred bracha, but there's no kedima in it over that, it can override other rules. Meaning to say, the shivas aminim would come before rice, even though it's mazonos. Chavivos would outweigh rice also. Yes. Shivas aminim come before rice. Yeah. 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 And chavivos also. Something you prefer comes before rice. And then I saw an even bigger chiddush. Sorry? Sorry?
The preference is for anything other than.
Anything. Even.
I want my steak before my rice.
Exactly. What do you mean you want? You prefer steak. Not the way you want it. Prefer it. Prefer steak. Steak is something you like. You like it more. That's what chavivos means. Chavivos means you like it more. Some say you like it more in general. Some say you like it more now. That's another machlokes. But anyway, and then I came across an even bigger chiddush. This is in this sefer Shmiras HaBrachos. Shmiras HaBrachos is a Chabad guy who writes like on Kol HaTerakula. It's called Shmiras. It's the Shmiras series. Shmiras HaShabbos, Shmiras HaMoedim, Shmiras HaTfilah, whatever. He does a nice job. And Rav Deitch says that he...
Hebrew or English?
Hebrew. Rav Deitch says that he's a very good malakit, but he didn't get everything right. So I can't say that he's 100% bar samcha, but nevertheless, he...
Worse than anybody else?
I mean, there are some malaktim that are, Zayis HaBracha is a big Talmud Chacham. You could say, I mean, his work is like, it's deep. I'm saying he's not a malakit, even though he is a malakit of many opinions, but he's a machadash in halacha, you know what I'm saying? Shmer Shabbos kol chasei. Even though he's not, his point isn't to be machadash in halacha, but he was an Adam Gadol on his own, you know what I'm saying? He's a very good malakit, but he's not a paisik, you know what I'm saying? So,
Well, that's what he meant. He's a good malakit.
yeah, he did a very good job of bringing together all the
Not
shitas.
that he's a person. Not that he's a
I don't think that he's, no, I don't think so. So, whatever, I don't want to say anything bad, especially this is being publicly thing. He does a good job, but you have to, if there's a chiddush that he says, you have to look into it. You know what I'm saying? You have to make sure. So, anyway, I'll get to your question in a minute, Benji. But he does say, he said something that is chiddush. So I should really look into it. But he says that the din of mezonos coming before other foods, even if they're more chaviv, does not apply to mezonos on spelt, rye, and
You
oats.
said it doesn't come. Oh, mazonos, not rice.
Mezonos, not rice. Mezonos normally comes overrides chavivos. But he says that's only if it's shivas aminim mamish, chita and soira, the ones mentioned in the pasuk. But the other ones, shibela shul, spelt oats and rye, bekitzer, he says, the zonis, yeah, comes first, but not overriding chavivos. In other words, if there's another food you like more than those, you say it on the other food before that mazonos. It's a big chiddush.
Didn't Rob just say that?
I said it about rice, but he says it about those.
But the sound of the Shulchan Aruch possibly. The sound of the Shulchan Aruch.
Paskins.
You just said, like, Paskins, like the order of the Shulchan.
Say, well, this is not shivas aminim. That's his whole chiddush. Shibolos, I mean, it's not mentioned in the pasuk. They're a type of wheat. They're a type of barley, but they're not mamish wheat and barley.
So other things are before that.
When it's about rice was for rice cracker, for like cereal.
If you say mezonos on them, saying Chabad doesn't say mezonos on rice directly, but if you say mezonos on them, yeah. Benji's asking, so if I have fish and salad on a plate and I prefer the fish, I say sha'akal first. No. The rule is sometimes by some brachos we say that the bracha is so much more important than the other bracha that it overrides chavivus, and some we don't say that. Chavivus means personal preference. So between hadama and shahakol, we don't say that chavivus overrides. We say the important bracha overrides. Meaning, say hadama is so much more important than shahakol, because hadama is it's a more specific bracha than shahakol. So therefore, you would say hadama on the salad before shahakol on the fish. Between our eitz and hadama, though, we do let the personal preference change the order. Even though there is a slight preference to eitz over hadama, if you prefer the hadama, you say it first. Yes.
We have a situation where you can often finish with vegetables.
Ikr v'tafel, that's something new. Meaning to say it's one dish and
It's one dish, cooked fish with vegetables. Moroccan
Okay.
fish, whatever.
okay, and the ikr is the fish. Is that the question? Yeah.
So this doesn't apply. Because you're going for the fish.
So when it comes to an ikr and tafel that was cooked together, you just make a bracha on the fish. There's no Indian to take out the hadama and make it on the hadama, because it's considered to be one food. It's one entity. It's cooked together. That's the ikr finished. There is a chiddush though that the Alter Rebbe says if it's not cooked together. Let's say it's an ikr and tafel that you're eating one because you're eating the other, but that's all. It's not mamish one entity. Like we had such things. You're eating the mezonos and the salty fish or whatever. So there the Alter Rebbe said because it's not actually one thing, it's two separate things, and one bracha is covering the other. There we said you're allowed to say the bracha on the tafel before the ikr if you prefer the tafel.
Only when you prefer.
Only when you prefer it, yeah.
If you prefer the cracker over the fish, you should make bracha and before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we said there. By Eitz and Adama, Benji's asking, if you said bracha on Adama first, would one continue to make a bracha on the Eitz afterwards? Or is it Yotze from Adama? Who can answer that question?
You do.
You do, that's correct. Adama does not cover Eitz unless you specifically intended it to. Some say unless you made it directly on the Eitz. Some say as long as you intended it to cover it. That's how we pass in the Yemen.
The beginning of the sefer, they say,
Exactly.
and if you do the opposite, it doesn't cover. You have to go right away.
Exactly. It covers it only if you dafka did it on it. Okay, so now let's just talk about little differences within the mazonos itself. So you have a mazonos food, two different mazonos foods. So first of all, everything we said about hamoitzi also applies, meaning to say wheat before barley, spelt, rye, oats. Mazonos made out of all of that. Whole before broken, whole wheat. All those things still apply. But there's an additional factor which applies to mazonos, which obviously doesn't apply to hamoitzi, that there's a difference between mazonos that could be hamoitzi and mazonos that can't be hamoitzi. This is what you were mentioning before. Mazonos that could be hamoitzi is considered a higher level mazonos. So you would make a bracha on cookies before you would make a bracha on pasta. Stop. Yes, indeed. Okay.
You really didn't know.
Yeah,
Is that a clear percent?
it's the Alter Rebbe's Chiddush, actually.
Is it anything else?
The Kaf HaChaim quotes him. The V'zos HaBracha quotes him. I don't know if the Mishnah Berurah quotes him. I'm not sure.
That's why you don't bring the cookies to the table until you finish.
Now we know the reason.
Things that the psak for this That is a life-changing factor in life. we just blew the sheet, the road. We shook the zones roll up.
In practical, for real, it's not just people don't bring the cookies.
No, that's just an example. Any food that's going to be, that has the status of candy house. Forget those two. We have, you're eating pasta with the cracker. I could probably come up with a better example to give you if you know.
So you probably will be required to have enough saunas food, so you can raise to the level of how much. If you don't have it.
No, that isn't.
Well, maybe that's
The
a
essence,
question.
the essence of it's able to gives it a higher position in the front. You should choose to make it. In fact, that this can reach, I'm not getting that much, but this can reach that level is a higher standard than it can't reach. Can't reach, right? It can't reach an OT.
So honestly, he only quotes Al Derby here in the Wagner and Brachos book. I'm not sure if the Mishnah Berurah brings it down or not. So, not 100% sure. Yes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about wine and grape juice. No problem. We said that wine comes before other brachas after mazainos. Same thing with grape juice. And the same thing would apply to wine before other liquids.
Why comes it from grape juice, though?
No. I said the same thing applies to grape juice before other foods, but I don't know. I don't know.
Rabbi Hachuel, one of our rabbis here.
Yep.
He said that the white wine that we have nowadays
Uh-huh.
is in the same category of red wine.
Okay.
And the white wine that Chazal, Shabbat was talking about, is when the red wine didn't mature enough, or whatever it was, the process didn't finish, and it's now white. The wine we have nowadays, that it's just made from a different grape, which they didn't make it out of, that's considered real regular old wine. And it has the same din as red wine. Because maybe for Pesach, we need duff for red, but for, what is it? Maybe that is that for Kiddush, you should make Kiddush, get an option on white wine, more of the grape juice. Because there's Rishon, let's say the grape juice is the shachakol, and white wine is not the white wine they're talking about, it's a regular wine. So you should make the bracha on
I don't know. My understanding, from my limited knowledge of wine production, is that white wine and red wine are made out of the same grapes. They just take the skin out to make it white, and they leave the skin in to make it red. That's my understanding.
Oh, I didn't know.
Most or something that you need to colors of wine.
Because the mice, when you open up a red grape, it's green,
Right.
it's light.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know enough about the sugya to really.
Wait, so what would make a difference?
You're saying that it used to be different grapes, and now it's different grapes, and then it was
No.
just not finished the process. But I don't know what that means.
Yeah, their finished process never turned out. Their white wine, the yain lamam, it's not as mishabrak as yain adom, is the, sorry, I'm a little. Their white wine that not as meshubach as their red wine was not on the same level as their red wine. It was less, right? Meshubach, right? So it's not as good.
It's because the pasuk praises it. Is it because it doesn't taste as good? The pasuk praises it. Yeah. Alter yayin ki is ade. Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, don't pay attention to wine even though it's red. He's talking, to people not to drink so much alcohol. Don't pay attention to wine even though it's red. Meaning to say it's nice, it's red. No, don't pay attention. So we see that red wine is considered more chashuv. So it doesn't say. I don't think it says that it's more chashuv because it tastes better, or it's on the contrary. In Hilchos HaToiva HaMeitiv, if you look it up, it says that white wine is healthier than red wine.
It's nowadays, no?
Why nowadays? Who said?
Where did you see that?
So in Shulchan Aruch.
In Shulchan Aruch, is it
White wine is healthier, yeah.
and still we would have white wine.
And no, but because the pasuk praises red, it said it has a mile. But even though white is healthier, I'm just saying. So I don't know. Stama, he wrote it up. Maybe send it to me if you have it. He has a sefer.
No, but anyway, I read something in Shabbos.
Okay. If he has it, I would be interested in reading. Yeah.
With the svara of grape juice being cholesterol, being Shabbos, and white wine being hadef.
Yeah, no, that I hear that's for. Not because of any changes of white and red of then, but just because in general, white is, even if it's not as good as red, it's still better than grape juice. That sounds right. Okay, so obviously wine comes before other beverages, comes before other foods besides hamatzim mazonos, but also comes before other beverages. The wine is the roish l'chol hamashkin. Not only does a gefen come before shahakol, but it subsumes the shahakol, like we've said. You don't make any bracha on other beverages once you make the bracha on wine. Okay, the next thing we spoke about is fruits and vegetables. And we said here, yes. Sorry? Has no mila whatsoever.
Wine or on the grape juice before.
Correct. No mila whatsoever. The fact that it used to be wine doesn't give it any priority. Because even products that are from the 7 species, Alter Rebbe says, if they're not eaten in an important way, they don't have priority. So, for example, just wheat and barley, that is hadama, because it's wheat berry salad. It's not sticking together. It's got the whole grain on it, like we discussed in Parak Aleph. And whatever it is, let's say it's mamash hadama. It doesn't come before the rest of the species. It doesn't come before the olives and whatever, even though it's early in the pasuk, because it's not the way the Torah was meshabeach. The Torah was praising those things when they're eaten in an important way, and that's not an important way. So, in terms of fruits and vegetables, so there's a difference between whether you're making one bracha or 2 brachas, and the concept is, we mentioned this last time, that the whole point of the din kadima and brachos is that you're going to make the bracha, you're making one bracha, and therefore we should make that one bracha that you're making on the most important food of the available foods that are covered by that bracha.
Like, for example, the cereal, I put milk, cereal, and banana inside, pieces banana. So this one, everything shakol.
My shakol.
Usually I take the banana, I go on a side, I prepare them, and then I slide it, and I got a bowl cereal with milk. This is shakol.
What kind of cereal?
The
non-rice cereal.
No, it's just not wheat. It's the other one. It's just
Corn?
yeah, yes, because I'm trying to
Corn flakes is Adama anyway.
I don't know,
Kellogg's cornflakes is Adama.
with the milk inside charcoal.
The milk is
So
tougher.
it's tougher. So all the adama or mezonot with the cereal.
If it's all Adama, you have no problem with the banana.
Oh yeah, mezonot. It's a cereal.
If it's all Adama, you have no problem with the banana. If it's a mezonot cereal, if you're eating, whatever it is, flakes that are mezonot, then I don't think you should make a bracha on the banana at all. The ikar is a cereal. The banana is just to give it flavor.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
If you're starting to eat in the kitchen, like we said, and you want to, like you set up a cereal, you pour it in the milk in, you're in the kitchen, and you want to take a bite out of it and make a bracha.
You could. But if you're at the table, then you shouldn't because you're changing the order.
But if you're not,
If you're not at the table, I don't think it's a problem.
No, I go to the kitchen and I know I'm going to do this one. So I take the banana, I do prepare them up, and then I bring the bowl, I bring the cereal, everything. And
No problem.
also milk, I do that charcoal also by itself. I do the banana, and then when I take the first lot of the milk, I take a little bit in the cup, charcoal, and then I do the mozonot with the cereal, with everything. Well, I don't need to worry about all that.
You don't need to. Make a bracha on the ikar and cover the tafel, so it's no problem. Okay. So when it comes to, the ikar of kedima and brachos is when you're covering the different foods with one bracha. That's when it's most important because you want to say that one bracha on the most important food. If it's two different brachos, like ha'etz and adama, it's not as important. The rules are not as important because there, anyway, you're going to make the bracha on the more important food. Ha'etz. Let's talk about the shivas aminim, right? Let's talk about the shivas aminim. Shivas aminim come before other fruits, right? There's a machlokes if you prefer other fruits. Do you make a bracha on them before the shivas aminim or shivas aminim before them? That's a machlokes. So most poskim say you go by shivas aminim. The Alter Rebbe says do whichever you want because it's a machlokes. But lemaisa, when it comes to different brachas, ha'etz and adama, then you could make a bracha on the adama for sure, according to all opinions, if you prefer the adama, even though the ha'etz is shivas aminim. And the concept is because the main idea of kedima b'brachas, of saying the brachas in the right order, is when you're covering it with one bracha, you want to make that bracha on the most important thing. So you want to make it on the shivas aminim. But if you're saying it anyway on that shivas aminim, you're just going to say another bracha on something else. Okay, so what? You're still going to make the bracha ha'etz on the shivas aminim, so it's a good thing. So that's what we said.
The Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda is the same yeah.
Ooh,
Alter Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda.
no.
So because they said the feather, who said the feather of Yehuda?
Rabbi Yehuda says Eisa sheyir tzayaktin, but there's a machlokes to paskin like him or like the Chacham. Rambam passes like Rabbi Yehuda, and the Alter Rebbe says whichever you want, you do is good because of these two shitot. You could do either one. That's his psak. So going back to what we were saying, when it comes to the shivas aminim themselves, besides the fact that shivas aminim comes before other things, when it comes to shivas aminim themselves, we have the order of the pasuk. What does mean the order of the pasuk? Whatever is closer to the word eretz. So the closest to the word eretz is zeis, shemen, udvash, olives, and then dates. After that comes gefen, te'ina, and rimon, which is grapes, figs, and pomegranates.
And this is the order of the blessing.
This is the order, correct?
I asked last week about the Seder for Tushvat.
Yes. I want to clarify, I was just thinking about the Seder of Tu B'Shvat right now, actually. I want to clarify there's an important halacha both for Tu B'Shvat and for Tu B'Av and for any day. Yud Zayin Av, you name it. Here's the thing, my friends. The order of the Brachos only tells you what to say the bracha on. Once you've said the bracha, you can eat in any order you want. There's no rule of eating in a certain order. Meaning to say you have 5 fruits in front of you. All of the 5 fruits of the Shiva Samini. You have olives, you have dates, you have figs, you have pomegranates, and you have grapes. The bracha says, the halacha says you make a bracha on what?
Arets first.
Which one? יש לך 5 דברים.
תמרים אולי.
לא, אני לא רוצה אולי, אני רוצה לדעת. 7 minim. You have all 5. I'm not talking about wheat and barley. All 5 fruits of the Shiva Samini. You have grapes, you have figs, you have pomegranates, you have olives, and you have
תאנה,
רימון, זית, שמן ודבש.
שמן ודבש.
לא, דבש זה, זית שמן זה אחד, זה זית. דבש זה דבש תמרים.
זה, יש לנו 5.
כן, which one comes first?
גפן.
לא.
We said just now.
No, you said, I didn't say.
גפן, תאנה.
Olives.
Olive.
Okay.
Because olive.
Because the pasuk repeats the word eretz close to the word zayit. Eretz, zeit shemen udvash.
זית שמן.
Olive oil, I mean, also. would be that.
I think so, yeah. We don't usually make a bracha on olive oil, but if you do, if you eat it, medicine, whatever, we said there's a case you make it, you make it on olive oil first also.
Olive first.
I read that somewhere.
If I don't רוצה olive,
If you don't want it, you don't have to eat it.
so I'll do a different bracha.
Yeah, I'm talking if you want them. If you want them all, you make the bracha on the olives. My friends, however, after you eat the olive, what do you eat next?
Anything in the Eretz you cover?
Anything you want.
Anything in
Not
the
talking
Eretz
about
you
barley.
cover?
No. No. After you made the bracha on the olives, you eat anything you want. There's no order of eating. There's only an order of making brachas. There's no order of eating. Once you made the bracha, you can mix it all together, eat it all together, separate, 1, 2, 3. There's no order.
And the category for the Eretz, Rabbi?
The order does not continue. The order is only what to do first. First, that's it. There's no second and third place. There's first and last. That's it.
So,
Now, I know you may have come to a Tu B'Shvat Seder, and they say, white wine, mix in the red, bit of red, this, that, da. That's not Hilchas Brachos. That's Hilchas Tu B'Shvat, Kabbalah, Din, Gvura, Chesed, I don't know what it is. I only went to one Tu B'Shvat Seder in my life, and they were telling me, eat this, then eat this, and then eat this. I don't know what it's about. Okay, Kasha. That's not about the dinim of brachas. The dinim of brachas tell you what to make a bracha on first. They don't tell you what to eat first.
so the zit is the Eitz. So everything, and the Eitz you can eat after. What about the Adama? You have to do basi for the Adama, right, Rabbi?
Kasha, of course.
But it's no order for the Adama?
No, there is an order for Adama. First of all, if you prefer something, you make it first. Between the Adama, you have a strawberry. You like the strawberry. Say it before the pepper. If you like the pepper, you say it first. There's another thing, my friends, and that is, even though we didn't mention it until now, here, we only mentioned it by bread, but it's true here too. Just like by bread, we said, there is a maila, there is an advantage to being complete. The same thing applies to fruits and vegetables. There is a maila, there is an advantage to a complete fruit or vegetable. You should rather make a bracha on something complete than something broken, right? A whole pepper comes before a cut up carrot or vice versa. and as a side point to that, if you're only eating one apple, make the bracha before you cut it. because there's a matter to make a bracha on a whole thing.
But for my kids on Shabbat, I peel it and I cut it to pieces. They like it, otherwise they will not eat that.
Okay, because you're the one cutting it. But if you're the one eating it also, you make the bracha before you start it. You have a piece, or you just give it to them.
Put it in a table, and when we study, whatever the table, and everybody cooperates.
You eat some.
Yes.
Okay, so you say the bracha eitz
And then I
on
will take
whole,
all the apple.
the whole apple. You say eitz, cut a piece.
It's not of sakah?
No, it's not hafsakah because it's tzorech, it's tzorech.
Uh-huh.
Then you cut a piece, eat it, and then you cut for everybody else.
Oh, okay. Then okay.
למדת דבר חדש.
Yeah,
כדאי לנו. I learned this every morning in Koilel for 3 years. Every morning we learned the same halacha. Because when Rav Deitch would give the shir in the morning, he would eat during the shir. Because he's a busy man, he doesn't have time to teach and eat. Does it all together.
Yeah.
So he would eat fruit. He's always had a special diet. And he would say a bracha on the apple when it was whole. He would cut a little piece and eat it. And then he would peel it, a long peel all the way around. You know how the old Babas know how to peel one long. We were all watching.
So I can do a navim, prepare and then they will come at the apple. Then I don't need to worry about it.
Of course, anavim come before apple. Masha'Allah. Petach. Anyway, anavim come first.
No,
Besides whole and broken and anything else.
I forgot that navim in refrigerator.
Okay, you don't have to take them out. But if you're taking them out, they come first. Kasha.
So the other thing is the simanim for Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
It's also
Right.
depends on the order. So if we eat apples, count whatever 4 days.
So here's the thing.
Passover, follow the order, right?
Here's the thing. When it comes to Rosh Hashanah, Chabad minhag is to say the bracha on the apple first. Why is that? Because Chabad says the bracha and then the Yehi Ratzon together before they eat, because they want the bracha to go on the Yehi Ratzon. That's the thing Chabad does. Nobody else does that. Everybody else says eat a little bit, and then they say Yehi Ratzon, and then they eat more. Chabad says Yehi Ratzon, and then eats. Why? Because we want the Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam to also go on that Yehi Ratzon. So for that reason, we also say it before other foods, because we have a reason to say it first. Just like we said by the first course and the second course, salad and main course. You have the salad first because you don't want to eat the main course. Same thing here. We don't want to eat the other fruits first, even the shivas aminim. We want to eat the apple first because that's the order in order to say it this way. So we say the apple first. Now, those that don't have this thing, dafka, to say, so the ones
doing it before.
before the bracha?
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't follow this. They will say the order of the bracha, meaning to say whatever's at the table, whatever the simanim are, you follow the shivas aminim. Whatever the order, you have olives first.
Yeah,
I don't think we have olives in Rosh Hashanah table.
Some brochure like that, and it said, tell you what to do.
Exactly.
And I follow that.
Exactly. I don't think, is olives one of the things? I don't think so. Olives? It's a chilik simanim?
No olive.
What is?
Carrots, meats,
Fish, Rosh Hashanah fish.
Yeah, but dates. I'm hearing dates. Dates come first.
Dates, yeah.
Dates is eight. Dates come first.
Date every day.
You say the bracha on dates first.
Before the apple.
Or the apple. Unless you're Chabad. Chabad says on the apple first. Okay.
You sure this?
No. I want to discuss a question which I didn't address yet. What comes first? Preference,
What's preference?
what you prefer,
Oh, okay,
chavivut,
okay.
or shalem, something that is whole, like fruits and vegetables.
The way I understand here, shalem is very important.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you what doesn't spell it out clearly. He says that shalem is important, but he doesn't say which comes first. But I did see it somewhere.
You're talking about only one bracha, and both fruits are in the same
Yeah,
category, like both are shalomim or both are not. So
exactly. If one fruit is sliced, whole fruits take priority over preference. Whole fruits take priority over preference. Okay, if it's between ha'etz and ha'adama, so we said preference comes first.
Preference the ayats, Rabbi?
Exactly.
Again, preference is the magdim.
Chavivut.
Preference.
What he prefers comes first. Then the shivas aminim. If there's fruits over the vegetables, the shivas aminim comes first. If you don't have preference and you don't have shivas aminim, you follow the whole, make the bracha on the whole, even if it means saying the hadama before the eitz. But if all else is equal, there's no shivas aminim, and there's no whole, there's no preference, you say eitz before hadam. So the fact that eitz comes before hadam is very low priority, very low priority. It's only when there's nothing else overcoming that.
So if I have a
One second. Obviously, shivas aminim is ha'etz anyway. But I'm saying, but in terms of chavivas, so in terms of preference or shlemus or being complete, both of those override the ha'etz before the adama concept.
So if I have a shalem adama, and this will be before the eights, if I have pieces of the eights, no, if I can do kavanah, this adama will take out the eights.
One more time.
Okay, if I have a piece of adama shalem,
Yep.
and I have pieces of eights and the plates, but it's a pieces broken.
But not shivat aminim. Not shivat aminim, you say adama first.
Adama first, and I can take the adama to cover the
No, chas v'shalom. No.
So this is what covers the adama.
It's separate brachot.
But
So-
because it's shalem, I don't give it.
Correct. But if the broken one is shivat aminim, then it comes before the adama, even if those are complete. That's what Benji is saying also.
So showing hadama comes before.
Broken ha'etz that is not shivas aminim. Correct.
Everyone holds of these showing dinim
Everyone, there's a lot of people included in everyone.
So Rabbi, it's very
Is there a
interesting.
main opinion otherwise? That's my question when I say it. I mean, like the top 5. What do you think?
And the Chabad, they broke the apple pieces on Rosh Hashanah?
After you make the bracha.
Not before?
No,
It's shalem, Rabbi?
of course.
Oh, Because the Sfaradim cut it already.
Who said?
I mean, cut it to make it ready. Everybody take a piece and dip it with the honey, you know.
I don't know. Kach
But
is it?
the Chabad is
Never
shalem.
seen another.
Oh, that's how they do it?
I've never seen another one. Where I've been
That was cut it first?
full apples. Full apples.
One who makes the bracha, makes a bracha on the whole one. Why not?
Must be a good luck house. I'll just say,
This was worth it to come today. Look at that.
I mean, you don't have to have all if you're saying yeah.
I did all my nachos.
Oh, you mean does the wife have to leave it whole? The wife doesn't have to leave it whole. But if it's brought to the table and it's whole,
No.
you make a bracha ha'etz before.
Yeah, you're just saying it's not.
It's not a common one.
Okay,
The pieces are not.
Yes.
okay. If that's how they bring it to you, you don't have to scream at them and say, "Why did you cut it?" But if they bring it whole, definitely say it
So
whole
I
before you cut
can
it.
put one all over there for the blessing and I take a small piece and eat that? No. If I bring
The
it
point
all,
is
I
you
cut
say
it.
it. The point of saying the bracha on the whole one is to eat from it, not to say it on it and eat something else.
I continue with the tradition or I start to take one whole.
You don't have to. You don't have to bring it whole. If it's whole, then you make a bracha. But you don't have to bring it whole. It's cut up before. It's cut up before.
They sell small apples.
Has there ever seen that you should be
That one, they
Never
get
seen that.
לא,
Why?
זה חייב להיות אדום,
Why?
חייב להיות משובח.
I don't know, maybe Kabbalah.
I don't know. To answer that question, I have to know Kabbalah. So maybe one day.
You read the Kabbalah of Israel?
Yeah, that you have to learn Kabbalah to be able to pass on halacha. That's true. That's true. You got me on that one.
It's also a good point.
It's true. What were you saying?
Rabbi Nachman said you should only take 8 stuff from someone who knows all the someone who knows so.
Nice.
Anyways, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say that the Chaim goes off on those who continue to Allah saying that it's not for me, it's not for me. He says that even he was a guilty of someone pushed it off and said I still need one more shot. He was already from Brachos.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, always a show that people go back until they fix this and they have to learn.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I mean, you kind of.
Yeah.
Well, how do you do it with your kids, with the apple on Shabbat? You cut it for them?
On Shabbat.
Yes. The apple, for the kids.
No.
Right? But if you want to take a piece also from the plate, you take it from the pieces, or you do corporate shalom, or you share with your kids. I just learned something. That's why I cut for my kids, and then I'm sitting and I do corporate.
Hadith, before you.
That's what Rabbi said. Shalem.
Before you even cut it for them, maybe
Yes.
a little bite.
No bite. You cut it.
Oh, either way, yeah, you could cut it. Sorry. What do you mean? You have to bite out of it? When you make a bracha on bread, you bite out of it? Make a bracha, you cut it like a mensch, and you eat it.
Yeah. If I got
You don't have to bite. You're allowed to cut.
Yeah.
It's no problem.
Because if I take a bite from the apple, I cannot cut it. So there, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
See, Baruch Hashem.
That's l'tzorich.
Right example.
Okay, so
You're saying that eating watermelon.
Oh, so that would work cool, what I said.
So it's watermelon.
yeah. I mean, in most cases, they're not going to bring it to the table whole.
Hold on. If you're gonna eat watermelon,
Yeah,
you should make a donut on the whole watermelon.
of course.
Without cutting it?
Well, to be honest, if you want to really do it properly, you want to get down to brass tacks, you cut it in a way that doesn't completely cut it. Just like bread during the week, right?
Half of it already?
Exactly.
As much as you can until.
As much as you can, and it would still, you could pick up each side and the other side wouldn't break off. That's what it says about bread. The same thing applies to fruits. You need to say you cut it halfway or whatever, so that to minimize the hefsek, and then after the bracha, you cut it the rest of the way.
So you do apples.
With apples too, yeah, you could cut into it, and then like the wedge just that way, and then the other wedge afterwards, for example.
So Rabbi, I can take a banana and say Baruch Adonai, and I take watermelon and I will do whatever I want.
You could do that too.
You know, it's a tough. You know, if when you cut it to make it nice for to
You
look.
could do that too.
To eat that.
To eat the banana, yeah, you could do that too. But I want to point out, this is only going to be shaykh if you're in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? When they bring it to you at the table, they're not bringing you a whole watermelon. It's already cut. So this is in the case that you're in the kitchen and you want to eat a piece of watermelon, then yes, you would. It's better to make a bracha whole.
That's why I'm asking, is everyone over this whole showing business on Brachos, on everything else besides bread?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I don't think there's anything about it.
I think a lot of people have it. We have it. It's a thing that you cut the apple from the top and it makes it into different
Yeah,
pieces.
that's the best.
And then you take it out and the apple can still be put together and stay.
No, we can't figure that out.
If you go all the way down, it will be like a flower and you take the machine out and you put it back to the, so then you have a.
Yeah, all the milas. The Mishnah Berurah says, "Im shneim min echad b'shem sabina v'shneim min shiva maktem hasholim. Afilu machatzi chovev yoser sholem odif." Magen Avraham. All right. He's talking about different fruits and vegetables. If there's no Indian of Shiva Saminim, you marked in the Shalim. The Magen Avraham, the Mishnah Berurah brings that from the Magen Avraham. He doesn't bring any Chalkim, so as far as I know, that's Pasha. Now, Shahakal is last on the totem pole, and I did come across a Chiddush in the Sefer V'Zoysa Bracha, that you would make a bracha on a whole hamburger before a half a hamburger. That's a Chiddush to me.
Even though hamburger is already.
That's what I was thinking. A hamburger is basar tachun. It's chopped meat. But then I was thinking to myself, well, what is bread? Bread is chopped wheat, and it still has chashivas. So, I mean, I don't know where he got it from, but I'm guessing that that's where he's getting it from, that even something that's made by man, once it's cooked, it gets a getter, it gets a specialness as being a complete item, and that has a priority over an incomplete item. So that's an interesting chiddush. Okay, there are a few more points that the V'Zoysa Bracha says that I wanted to bring out, but first I want to continue the Alter Rebbe to finish the parak.
You have different, your example was full hamburger versus a piece of hamburger.
Yeah.
But you have different shape.
Oh, do you go by whole or by preferred? It's an interesting question because by fruits we said whole comes before. No, sorry. If it's the same bracha, preferred comes first. If it's two brachas, no. If it's two brachas, preferred comes first. If it's one bracha, whole comes first. That's what we said. So here it's one bracha, so it should be whole should come first. That's a chiddush. That's a chiddush. Yeah, but that's what he says actually. If any of the shahakal items are whole, it is preferable to make a bracha item first. Otherwise, the item which he usually prefers comes first. So that means a whole hamburger comes before a piece of parv ice cream. Even if you prefer the ice cream. That's what would come out.
Ice cream is,
Parv.
thank you. Rabbi, ice cream is shown, not shown. It's not.
Oh, you mean there's no get or shalom?
What's happening?
I don't know.
What's happening if the ice cream is dairy, Rabbi?
And you're not eating it together.
No, but they want the ice cream before the
Oh, you want to eat the ice cream first to be able to have the meat afterwards, so then there's no question.
So it's no question.
No question. Okay. Yud, I think we're up to Yud. Ahmed Ramon Peres Emzeh. Bechito Sar Zemzeh, Bechito Sar in Paris, Yishlak and Bechito Sar Pisha Paris Chavim Lav Yosef. We said this before already outside, but here we're reading it inside. When it comes to Paris, one with the other, we said you could. Oh, we're up to Yud Beis already? Oh, okay. Even better. Okay, perfect. Yud Beis.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Afilu Birchos Boirei Mine Mezonos Shel Kusman Ushibel Shul V'Shifan Shenkesum Beish B'Pasuk Koibin LeBirchos Boirei Pir Eitz Shel Kol HaPeres Avshem Menshim. The bracha on the other types of grain, even though they're not explicit in the pasuk, spelt rye and oats, come before the eights on the other fruits, even though those are explicit menshim. Therefore, cake, like honey cake, if it's made of spelt, comes before other jams. Even if they're made with min shiva, and then you can still see the fruits, and there are eights. Even if you prefer them. Oh, this is a question on the Shmiras person. He said that Chavivus does not override the mezoinus of things besides chitan. So 1 second here, please. Okay, no, I must have misunderstood something else he said. Yeah, this is clear. The mezoinus of these foods comes before Paris, even if the Paris are chavivim. So I take back what I said before. The mezoinus on the 5 grains come before any ha'etz or hadama, even if you prefer those ha'etz and hadama. 5 grains always come first. I said before that he says that the bracha on the other 3 do not have priority if the fruits are chavivim. That's not correct. There's something else that he says there to figure it out, but what it says in the Alter Rebbe is correct. Whatever the mezoinus on the 5 grains comes before ha'etz and adama, even if you prefer those.
Also for Rebbe Geffen, if it's Chaviv Alecha, That's
But
what
Pri Geffen, it comes first always.
I said, yeah.
Always. Chutz min hazayis. Besides olives, she kodim l'sa'ira, olives come before barley. And how much more so, they come. It comes before oats and spelt. Oats and rye. Sorry, oats and rye. Oats and rye. Sorry, I'm mistranslating here. Oats and rye, which are min sa'ira, if they're the same in preference. Because the second eretz interrupts. Whatever's closer to the word eretz is more important. However, wheat comes before olives, and barley comes before dates. One more time. The pasuk says eretz chito soira gefen teina verima. It means eretz, chita, and soira come first. Then come gefen teina verima, and then it says eretz zeis shemen udvash. So it repeats the word eretz, and it puts olives right after the word eretz, and then dvash tmorim, dates right after the second eretz. So therefore, olives come before barley. The barley is mezonus, but olives are closer to the word eretz. Now, this has to do with what I said before, that the din kedima of mezonus is not only because of the bracha of mezonus, it's because of the aspect of the shivas aminim of mezonus. So here you have an example. You have the bracha mezonus, but connected that, you have the fact that the zayis is in the shivas aminim order closer to eretz. So the Alter Rebbe holds, we go by the order before the din of mezonus coming first. It's a machlokes acharonim. Not everybody agrees with Alter Rebbe. I believe the Mishnah Berurah paskins the opposite, that you say mezonus on barley before ha'etz on olives. But this is Alter Rebbe's psak.
Well, you have sandwich, salt sandwich, and you have to make your olive bracha. Yeah, it's on the olive. So you got olives inside. You got to have a spelt sandwich with olives on the side.
If only if it's mezonus bread. We're only talking about mezonus here. We're not talking about hamoitzi. Hamoitzi comes before. Hamoitzi comes before, even if it's barley. Just because it's the most important food, it's the ikar. Hamoitzi, yeah.
So you have a cracker, a spelt cracker.
Exactly,
And olive.
exactly. The olives come first.
I've seen that before. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Has to be the results that can go into.
I don't think so.
Like only still comes before pasta.
Yeah.
Made of butter,
Yeah,
not pasta made of butter.
yeah. But wheat comes before olives, because even though they're both first after the eretz, wheat is after the first eretz. And barley comes before dates, even though they're second to eretz. Barley is the second to the first eretz, and dates are the second to the second eretz. So that's what it is.
So if a person has spelt rind oats, that comes after any of the shemen. And that's the question.
Yeah, right?
Spelt rye oats. Yeah, crackers and spelt rye oats. Those always come after the shemen and the jam. Any of the shemen.
He said before that they come first. So you're asking why? Why, if we see olive comes before barley, because the order of the Shusaminim, why don't the 5 fruits come before those? So the truth is that they are considered min chita, min sayr. When do we apply that? When do we not? That's not 100% clear to me. In other words, before we said that even though kusmin, so even though shifan is min chita, it doesn't come before sayr, because one is clear in the pasuk, one is not. We said that. So when do we say because it's not clear in the pasuk, it's not included, and when do we say not? But here we see it's considered part of them. It's considered part of them. Yeah.
So you consider them as wheat and barley.
Yeah.
So now you have to know which ones are considered like wheat and which is considered like barley.
Yeah.
So again,
Cool.
spelt and rye are considered like wheat. No.
No, 1 second. No. He says it right here. Oats and rye are types of barley, spelt as a type of wheat.
So, if you don't mind, let me just give another example. So right, so spelt crackers would come before
Right, but the rye crackers or barley soup would not.
Why did the
Barley
pasuk say
crackers.
another eretz?
Why did the pasuk do it?
Say another eretz.
I was actually wondering that. What's the pshat in the pasuk? Is it that Hashem wanted us to give priority to Zayas and Tmarim? That's why he put the word Eretz in. Or did he put the Eretz in for other reasons? And Mamela, we have to follow that order because that's the order of the pasuk. Is the purpose of the pasuk to show us this chashivas? Or is there another reason for the pasuk? But Lamaisa, now that the pasuk puts it in that order, we follow that order. I don't know the pshat. I don't know. And if it, so you have another question here. Why even put in the word Eretz? Why just not write Eretz Chita Usaira, Zeis Shemen Udvash, Gefen Tein of Remind? That's all. Simple.
Well, there you won't know that Zeit is better than bar.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay. That's true.
And that's more if Eretz is, it runs away off Eretz.
So then why doesn't it say Eretz Chita Mezayas Sa'ira? No, but that's not a question because Mezayas grains are different. It groups them together. Okay. So Tmorim Koid Milan Navim B'Tzimukin, because we said before, Tmorim are second to the word Eretz, and Navim and Tzimukim are third, right? Gef and Teinerim are third, and Navim are grapes, Tzimukim are raisins. Aval Yayin Koid Mafil Zayis. Wine comes even before Zayis. Even if you prefer the olive. Listen carefully. Because Agafen is a more important bracha besides Mazainis. Ben shel chita, ben shel sayra, whether of chita or sayra. Shekadem is the bar Agafen, which comes before. Even if wine is preferred. Listen carefully. So wine comes before all of the ha'itz, even though it's later in the pasuk, because it's a more specific bracha. Hagafen is a more specific bracha. Now it doesn't come before mezainas, right? Because mezainas is even higher bracha than it, even though it's not as specific. Honestly, it's not as specific because it goes on 5 species. Wine is only wine. But it's a more chashuv bracha because it's on it's a min that is mazin. It is on something that gives satisfaction. So it's still considered a more important bracha. So,
Between wine and grapes, wine goes first.
exactly.
But if you have pomegranate juice.
If you have what? Some more time?
Pomegranate juice.
Pomegranate comes first, definitely. Because the only chash...
Then if you say like that, then you're probably covering the juice with the pomegranate. So we might then you have to after the order, the shackle first.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah, we discussed.
Here's the thing. You are allowed to change the order in order to go out of a doubt of brachos. And it does say that about orange juice and oranges. Because some say that you say ha'etz on oranges. But that's only because it's a special species that is planted specifically for orange juice. So therefore, it could be that orange juice is the way you consume that species. But I don't know if that's true about pomegranates. I don't know. We have to find out. If not, then I don't think you should change the order because I don't think there's an opinion that says ha'etz on it. You know what I'm saying? If there's a special species of pomegranate made for juice, then you're right. And some would say ha'etz, and to go out of the doubt, you should say sha'akal first. But otherwise, no. I know they make pomegranate juice. But if it, oranges, some say you should say ha'etz on it because they have juice oranges. They have juice oranges. They specifically plant orange juice. Yeah. Because they specifically have a type of orange called juice oranges. And the way to consume it is by drinking the juice. So that's derech achilasa. That's no, not that you can't. That's not the way to eat the fruit. No, they plant it specifically with the intent not to get rid of them,
In order
to consume them, to consume
They
them.
don't sell them.
No,
They're not eating them, they're not playing.
no. I mean, maybe a worker will eat it on the way. Why not? There's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
But they're the type that are good for juicing. So that some people say is ha'etz. But a regular pomegranate that is not a type that's used for juicing, and most pomegranates are not for juicing, as far as I know. So I don't think that would be considered derech achilasa. I don't think it's a safek ha'etz. I don't think so. So in that case, you should keep the order. 14. Birchos hapas afilu shel kusma v'shifrim kedevas l'chol brachos afilu l'zayis v'yah. And this answers your question. The bracha on bread, even on spelt and rye, comes before all brachas, even wine and olives. Kol makom shachav v'koydem. Tesvav. Anything that's what's more important comes first. There is a machlekes Rishonim, my friends. What is called chaviv? Is it what you prefer always or what you prefer now? Right? There might be two different things. Usually you're a chocolate guy, not a vanilla guy. Right now you're in the mood for vanilla. So which is chaviv? So if you have two things, one is not chaviv at all. The other one is either chaviv normally or chaviv now, then you follow the one that's chaviv, whether it's normally or now. If you have a conflict, says the Alter, but if you have two species, one is what you usually prefer, one is what you not prefer. Do whatever you want because there is no psak according to the Alter Rebbe. That's a suffix shakul, so do whatever you want. Now, most Achronim, Mishnah Berurah, and others say to go by your usual preference. So just for your information, that's what Mishnah Berurah would say to do, by your usual preference. If there is a conflict, but he agrees with Alter Rebbe that if there's no conflict, you follow either chavivus, usual chavivus, or the present chavivus.
What was Alter Rebbe saying when you do have those? What is the person?
If there's a conflict between the usual chavivus and the present chavivus, the Mishnah Berurah says you go with the usual chavivus. Alter Rebbe says, "Ezer shir siyakim." Do whatever you want.
So it doesn't.
No, in this last point, he doesn't agree. In the first point, he agrees. Alter Rebbe says, chaviv is either one. So if you have no conflict, Meaning to say you have one thing that's never chaviv, neither now nor other times. And you have one thing that is chaviv in either definition, you go by chaviv. That's agreed, because it's a machlokes. It's a machlokes what chaviv means.
Right, but in that case that I just gave, everyone would agree to go with sometimes some.
Yeah, because we don't know what chaviv is, so go with
Better than
either
nothing.
one. Exactly, better than nothing. That's for sure. If there's a conflict, that's what the Alter says, Eiz Shir Yakdim. The Mishnah Berurah says, normal chaviv. Go with the normal chaviv.
Oh, and not the now chaviv.
Correct.
Meaning, so if there's a now chaviv,
And a usual chaviv, the Mishnah Berurah says, go with a usual chaviv.
Now they mentioned chocolate and eggs.
Actually, that's a question. That's a question. We say shakal and chocolate, but there is good reason to say that really it should be eitz. That's a normal way to consume the cocoa bean. So actually, they say if you have fruits and chocolate, you should say shakal and the chocolate first, because once you say eitz, it's a question about saying shakal. It's one of the examples they bring to this thing about saying changing the order to get out of a doubt.
But he used to do only shakol, everything shakol, and then we start to
No, never.
never.
And the Chachamim made brachot and lechatchila made motzi, zonot.
Because shakol is take everything.
They also said if you don't know what to do,
Here
or
I know-
b'diavad, shakol covers everything. But they
here-
didn't say it first.
I know
They
it's
didn't
the
first say
apple.
shakol.
I know it's the apple here and the shakol chocolate. So you said chocolate before?
Because some say that chocolate is eitz. So if you say eitz first, then there's this effect if you can now say
Chocolate is
shakol.
the it?
Some say. כן, יש שומעים.
It's melted.
מה זה משנה? זה הדרך אכילתו. That's the normal way to eat it.
It's so processed.
It is a good question. It's one of those questions I cannot say I got a big clarity on. But I think the vort was that when something changes to like a mahus achar lagamri, looks like something totally different, that even though it's derech achilosai, it's still shakal. Even though that's not so clear, but I think that was the...
So in chocolate covered fruit, or like when you go into a chocolate farm, you pick up a piece of fruit,
Sorry, chocolate covered fruit or what?
chocolate fountain.
Yep.
And you pick a fruit and you put it in the chocolate. So what do you do there?
I mean, ikar and tafel, is that your question? What's the main thing? If there's a clear ikar and tafel, then you make the bracha on the ikar. If there's no clear ikar and tafel, you make two brachas. I mean, you mean because one is eitz and one is suffix? Is that what you mean? If you're making two, you should say the shakal first. Better to separate it, yeah. Yeah. Tez Zayin kol dinei kedimas halalu. All of these halachas of priority, ein ela kesheshnein lefanav is only if they're in front of you. Aval emein oisei shedin lagdim ein lefanav. But if the one that you normally that you're supposed to say the bracha on first, is not in front of him, ein tzorach lampen, you don't have to wait. Mevi lefanav boidim barachim min harishin. Now, if they bring it in front of you while you're in the middle of the bracha, even if the second one is preferred, and it's min shiva, and even if, by the way, it's whole, makes no difference. You make the bracha on you finish the bracha and you eat the first one. And this is a very clear halacha, because when you make the bracha on something, when you say bracha to Hashem, that bracha goes on that thing. You can't switch it to something else in the middle of the bracha, even if it's the same bracha and everything else.
Let's say you're making a shahakal, it's like you're making a shahakal.
Yeah.
You said Baruch to Hashem, and came the milk halan, so you should grab something else and you're not, what's it called? You're not, it's not a shahakal.
You change the Kavanah.
Instead of getting Bracha, switch the Bracha to make it something you can hang.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty sure.
Really?
It's
You
a
change the
Gemara.
Kavanah.
Gemara.
The Gemara talks about if you started
It says
thinking.
that's, I think it's like, that's-
Yeah, but the Gemara talks about when you started to say it on one and you changed it to the other, but it was always the same thing, you just didn't know. You thought it was shahakal, you thought it was vinegar, and it turns out to be wine. And you realized in the middle and you changed it.
I don't know what that is.
The Gemara doesn't talk about what you're saying when you switch it to something else. But, I don't know.
Makes sense, no? Meaning Lechatchila, that's what sorry, I'm so tired. Ultimately, I think it is what it is now, but, for the other, to not make a Bracha of the to switch the food. I mean, in my mind, it's what I either do or I've seen, but
I wonder.
it doesn't say against, it just says that.
No, he doesn't say against. So I'm asked for the truth from who will discuss it.
Let's see that finish.
So he talks about a different thing, but it's similar. Mishochel v'sava mechila sapas. Mishochel v'sava mechila sapas. Shoschai v'bichz amos min ha-Torah. Futzach l'nekavov. V'yischol v'rach baruch ata Hashem, l'das lem asher yotzar. Chazer boi v'imshech akel hazon oisano. V'di'evet yaseh lichavasa. Kol shken b'chaz rabbanon. K'shlochav kois yan b'yodeh. V'yiskos Hashem choshav lachtem shakal. V'siyim al-gafan yotzar. Actually, it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. Sounds like the same, and I don't want to say one or the other because I don't want to get it wrong. So we'll have to leave it. And the truth is that I am planning to write an email about these laws for my Shabbos email, since it's in the Parsha. So stay tuned for more information. My pleasure.
Have you ever seen the Seder?
Don't forget to Dav Meyer. Next week, Monday, Rabbi Side, we have no class tomorrow night. I do apologize. And I don't think we're going to do Wednesday night because, I don't know, I didn't get the impression that we're going to have a big crowd anyway. So we're going to just continue next Monday night, and it's a show.
If we need to get more done online, I would love to have online. Okay, you're up to do tomorrow night online also.
Tomorrow night I'm at a wedding.